Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to RWBY Volume 6, Chapter 1. So yeah, we are finally here. It's been a long time coming, but we are at the 6th volume, or season if you prefer, of RWBY, the animated online series by Rooster Teeth. And personally for me, the only series that Rooster Teeth does that I like. So RWBY is one of those shows that has kind of a polarizing fandom. The fans are either love where it's going currently or hate where it's going. I know there's a lot of fans who have been really toxic about it, who have attacked the showrunners and stuff and said that they're horrible and everything for the way they're doing things, especially in the last 2 seasons. But there are those of us, believe it or not, who love where it's going. I'm obviously one of them, and I think it's doing amazing things. People are complaining like, oh, the fight scenes aren't as common and aren't as epic as they were. This is an action show. And it's like, it was never an action show. This was always a show that was sending messages about racial divides, about character studies. Like, this show was never about the action. It was always about the characters, their struggles, and the stories that they're telling. It was never about the action. Yes, the action was more common in the earlier seasons, but that's because the earlier seasons were more focused on the training of these characters. At this point, the series has gone in a direction where it's more focusing on who they are and the struggles they're going through. The things that are shaping them into who they're going to be. This is big and important, and I think it's a good thing to have it change its focus and go towards a more, I wouldn't really say passive approach, but definitely less aggressive with its action and everything. Make the action scenes less often and make it focus more on the characters and how they're getting through stuff. And there's still been great action scenes. So it's not like the action scenes have disappeared. But I love what they're doing with the characters. And I hope to get more. Now, I will say right off the bat, I don't know anything about what's to come in the series, in the season, but I have seen the intro already. I have seen the intro, and I actually chose to watch it early instead of waiting for the episode, because I wanted to actually talk about it with you. I heard someone else had analyzed it. I don't know if it was someone here on YouTube or just in the fandom in general. Someone had analyzed it and was pointing out these little things that they saw in it. And I kind of wanted to do the same. I thought it'd be a fun idea. So we're going to go through it. And we're going to only go through it once. I'm not going to keep going back and everything. We're going to go through it real quick. I'm going to have it muted just to save on all of the issues that Rooster Teeth might try to bring up with copyright. And I'm going to just keep pausing it and everything. I don't even need this if I'm going to have it muted. But I just want to quickly go through it and share some of my thoughts on what we might be seeing. So as you can see at the beginning, we start off by seeing Crescent Rose and all, which is a very good image to start on, because it kind of gives us that feeling of the show. I will go back real quick here. Notice how when the characters come up, Weiss is in the forefront. Based on where we're going in this season, I think that Weiss might be the biggest focus of our main team. And, I mean, I for one welcome that, because I am a big Weiss fan. She's my favorite character. So, I would be all good for that. Now, as we go on, we see the moon there, and we see, after the logo fades, the moon breaks. This kind of leads me to believe that maybe we're going to actually find out... Maybe we're going to actually find out what happened to the moon. We haven't actually... That's something we haven't found out yet. Why is the moon shattered like that? What happened? Was it something involving Salem and Ozpin? We can only guess right now, and there's been a lot of theories about it. But as we can go on, we see this little scene of Team, I guess they're calling themselves Ranger now, even though Ruby's kind of not, I mean, I guess they're all together, so. But I wanted to pause on this specifically because you see, I want to point out that Nora is hugging Ren like that, and that's adorable. And it kind of goes along with the fact that they were kind of confirmed as a couple, though we haven't seen much for that yet. Because it was like at the end of, not last season, but the season before that they were confirmed as a couple. They held hands and everything, and it was definitely telling us, yeah, they're together now. But they didn't really do anything with it last season, so I'm really hoping that they go into that more this season. And to be fair, with what happened last season, I can understand why they didn't do much with it, so. So we see some just fun little shenanigans here. And then we're on the train, and Ruby and Weiss are running through the train, laughing and smiling, and it is the cutest thing, especially because I ship them. And I know that there are some people who try to argue, like, oh, Monty said they were more like sisters, and they weren't going to be getting together. It's like, we can still ship them. Let us have our fun. Even if they don't get together, like, they most likely won't, who cares? But this shows that Ruby and Weiss are on good terms with each other. Which is a far cry from where they started out in Volume 1. They have become good friends, and they're happy to see each other again. They're happy to be together, especially with what Weiss went through with her father. But then we pan over here to see Blake and Yang sitting together, which shows that they are trying to mend their little broken relationship. But at the same time, you see Yang look away, and she has this, like, this expression that can read as both worried and still kind of upset. I think that her and Blake's relationship still needs to be mended. Yes, they embraced as part of the group hug at the end of last volume, but it's not going to be fixed just like that. And I like that. That's realistic and it's good. They shouldn't. Their broken friendship shouldn't just be mended in an instant just because they saw each other again. Yang is still upset with Blake, and Blake is still really worried about Yang and how she's going to just react and everything. I think they're going to be working through a lot of that in this volume. As we pan out to the window outside of the train, we also see a flash of Adam in the window. Adam has had a huge effect on both Yang and Blake's storylines. I mean, he's the one who cut off Yang's arm, which led to her kind of going into a depressed state. And he's also obviously strongly connected to Blake and is basically kind of the reason she ran away. So I think that he's going to be important to Yang and Blake's story as well, even if he's not super, like, active in the season. Now we see this character. This is a new character who I've heard a lot of theories about on who it could be. Some people say that behind those goggles, she might be a silver-eyed warrior. And some people are saying she might be the Winter Maiden. And some even think she could be both. I'm on the fence, because I think those are two very big character roles to give her. It does seem in this intro, as we'll see again later on, that she is kind of joining the team, at least for a time. But giving her a huge role like the Winter Maiden or a Silver-Eyed Warrior, I don't know. I think it's just, with as little info as we have, we can't say. We just cannot say. But I am interested to find out who she is. Now, this is another reason people are saying she might be a Silver-Eyed Warrior. Because it goes through her goggles, and then it, like, focuses on Ruby's eye and zooms into that as well. So people are saying that's maybe connecting to that. And it's possible. So then we see some grim stuff going on, these tentacles, which are kind of reminiscent of the arms of the Nucleavee from a couple seasons ago. You know, the Nucleavee is the creature that attacked Ren's village and killed his parents and all, and he eventually got his revenge. It kind of reminds me of the arms of the Nucleavee, but I don't think that's what's going on here. I think it might be something new, especially since there's a bunch more. Now, here's a big part. So we see this hooded figure walking through this this rainy street, right? Now, there's a lot of umbrellas, and then you see Roman's bowler hat, which this person looks back on. Now, this person, I would say, clearly has a feminine figure to them, so I'm guessing it's probably a female character. And there's two theories on who this is. Some people are saying it could be Neo. The umbrellas and everything all around, as well as Roman's bowler hat, could signify that. But some people are saying it's Cinder. And I've already I've already talked about how I would despise if Cinder came back. Her death at the end of last volume was too impactful. It meant too much, and it was too big of a scene to just retcon. I'm sorry, her death was obvious. It was so obvious, I mean, in my eyes, it's pretty much set in stone. If they retconned it at this point, I think it would be extremely cheap. Could they possibly explain it away? Possibly. But even if so, I still think it would be extremely cheap. It'd be the same kind of thing as they did with Tristapin in Whack Fu. For those who have not seen Whack Fu, you might not know what I'm talking about, but it's a valid example. It would ruin the entire moment of that from the last season. We see Adam a bit here, so I don't know if he's going to have as big a role in this volume, though. And he's definitely not going to be, I don't think he's going to have as much influence over the White Fang as he did before. We do see the other villains as well here, leading up to Salem, who seems upset, which is interesting. I don't know if it means she's upset at her team, or if she's upset for another reason, but I think she's definitely upset over something. I don't think that's just meant to make her look intimidating. I definitely think there's more to that. Now then we see this, and I'm not actually 100% sure what this is. I've actually looked at this moment before. Even zooming in, which I just did there, I can't tell who that is. I don't know who that is in front of the statue, and the statue I think is supposed to be Ozpin. But I'm not 100% on that. But if we go right after this, it shows a bunch of different people leading up to the Ozpin we already know from before his death. This makes me believe that, hold on, that these three people here are past forms of Ozpin. As we know, whenever he dies, he takes control of another like-minded person. And I think that's definitely what we're seeing here. These are all Ozpin. Especially because once you go to Ozpin back here, he becomes Oscar. It's definitely what I definitely think it's signifying that. And I'm hoping that we maybe get to learn more about Ozpin's past. We also see Jean seemingly attacking Ozpin. This, I'm not sure exactly what it's about, but maybe Jean finds something out that really upsets him. Maybe it has something to do with Pyrrha. It's hard to say. We get into an action scene on the train against this griffin creature, and then we see this. This is the hooded figure from before, and another reason people are saying that it's probably Cinder is because of the sword she's wielding. I still think it's just way too early to say. Yes, she's not wielding a parasol weapon like Neo did, but that doesn't mean anything, and it's just too early to say, to be honest. I really just hope it's not Cinder. We get into more action with Team RWBY, and I like how they're kind of turning into each other in a way. Just the animation on that is great. And then there's this final scene of the entire team. We see that this other woman who I mentioned before, she's there with them. So I definitely think is joining their side for the time being. Now, we also notice, and this is just kind of a little fun thing just for my sake, RWBY and Weiss are arm in arm. And I'm not saying that this is confirming a ship or anything. I'm not going to be that girl. I'm not going to say that kind of thing. But what I'm thinking this is going to mean is that RWBY and Weiss's relationship is going to be focused on, which kind of goes back to what it showed before on the train of them running through, laughing, and having fun. I think that their relationship is going to be a big factor, just like Yang and Blake's are. You also notice that Yang and Blake are on separate sides. And you also notice that Ch1 is on a separate side from um, his other teammates, Nora and Ren. I think, and I kind of don't want to say this, and there's not too much to go, but I think there might be a split at some point. Like, the groups are going to split. And I don't know exactly how it's going to go, but if this is anything to signify, maybe it's going to be RWBY, Blake, Ch1, and Oscar going one way, and Weiss, Yang, Crow, Nora, Ren, and the new character going the other. Now, it's an uneven split, and I don't know why this would happen, but in the end, I definitely think that there's going to be something happening that's going to cause some kind of rift, in some way, to some degree. But yeah, I just love the shot of them arm in arm and everything. It's just a really nice shot to end it off on. Now, I could be reading too much into this, and it's very much possible, but I did just want to go over all of that and just share what I thought based on what we got. But I'm excited to get into this episode. This is the first episode of the new volume, and there is a lot that I'm excited for. I've heard some good things about it already, so we're going to get into it. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts, and will contain spoilers to the episode. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. Okay, and we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Yeah, that was a fantastic start to the season. I am excited. I mean, I was excited before, but I'm really excited now. Okay, so we had our send-offs. They went to the train station. They're heading out to Argus. And we see that they're definitely working together, and they're definitely back as a team, but there's still a couple little reservations there. Like it was like blah, blah, blah. It was like Yang said to Blake, we're back, we're a team again, but we're not going to be back to normal for a little bit still. So yeah, it's cool to see that, to see them cover that though, because that was definitely one thing I wanted to see. As I mentioned in my pre-thoughts, I wanted to see Blake and Yang still have a little bit of trouble with each other. There was a big issue, and Yang really took issue to Blake running away. It really hurt her. And I really think that needs to be worked through. It's not going to be perfect right away. I really love how Weiss and RWBY are interacting, though, on the other hand. They're becoming a lot more just sassy with each other. Like with their interactions on top of the train and stuff, like when they save each other and everything. Weiss is definitely grown. And I've talked in depth about Weiss's development and growth before. But just to quickly summarize it again, throughout these seasons, Weiss has gone from an aggressive, cold, pun intended, Ice Queen, to a caring, emotional, and respectable young lady. She stepped out of her father's shadow and has learned to embrace and love those closest to her. Her team. I mean, when she reunited with Yang and jumped into her arms, embracing her, one, it gave some shipping fuel to that ship. Which, by the way, just a fun fact, I'm not even against that ship, funny enough. They're my two favorite characters in the show, and I actually think it's a cute idea. I personally don't ship it, I'm just not against it. But the fact is, it showed that Weiss missed them so much, and she even said as much. And when those two reunited with RWBY, it was a really heartfelt, beautiful moment, especially because it's like, oh, RWBY and Yang are sisters, so of course they're going to embrace, and it showed Weiss felt kind of left out until they invited her to come in as well, and so many tears. But it's good to see that they're back together, and just Weiss has just warmed up so beautifully. Again, pun intended, her ice-cold heart has been thawed. She's not only serving as a full-on, like, member of the team without any issues anymore. Like, she's not even aggressive towards them. Again, she'll sass them a little bit, but that's all I think it's going to really come to at this point. And it shows how much she's grown. We also see a bit of Team Juniper in this, mostly goofing around. There's not a lot of big stuff with that. But one thing to note is that with the teams having split up, Team Juniper going one way and Team RWBY going the other, that leads me to one interesting note, because with the opening, as it showed Ch1 seemingly attacking Oscar. And I'm presuming that it was more towards Ozpin. He's with Team RWBY, though. Unless I missed something. I think he was with Team RWBY, and then let me just check to be sure. I believe he stayed with them. Yeah, he's with them. So that means that they have to reunite at some point during this volume. Which is good, because I was admittedly a little worried. We had these groups split up in the past seasons, and it's like, and it was good. I like the way they did that, but doing it again just would feel a little off. So I definitely think they're going to meet back up in Argus, probably towards the second half of the season. In fact, I'd say probably around the second half, like right in the middle or just after. I don't think it's going to end with that. But yeah, I'm glad they're not stretching that out any further than it needs to be. The idea that Ch1 is attacking him, though, and again, I'm thinking it's more Ozpin than Oscar. I'm thinking that Team Juniper is going to find something out that incriminates Ozpin. I don't know what it is, but that's what I'm thinking. At the end of the episode, we also got this lady again, who we had seen a couple times before. She's the big mystery right now. We don't know who she is, what her role is going to be. All we know is she's traveling with Team RWBY. She's the only passenger that stayed behind on the back half of the train when everybody else went forward. And I definitely think that she's someone important. Not necessarily the Silver-Eyed Warrior or the Winter Maiden. Although, again, she could be. She could be either. She could be both. But either way, I think she's important to the story, and I think she's going to have some kind of very big role to play. Her cane, which has this, like, Dia de los Muertos style skull head, is really cool. I love the design of it, and I think that's also going to end up being her weapon. She also has a skull on her necklace. I'm looking at it right here. I could probably bring that up. Let me see if I can bring that up real quick. Ah, well. I mean, this is, like, mostly as much as you need to see here. So, yeah, you can see she has the skull on her necklace as well. The shawl she has over her, almost poncho-like, has this interesting design to it as well. It actually kind of reminds me of Water Tribe from Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra. And, I mean, her design kind of makes me think of Katara from in The Legend of Korra as well. The goggles are very high-tech, it seems. We saw them emote earlier in the episode, like they squinted, they narrowed. So I definitely think that those are probably something, kind of, I guess you could say kind of similar to Spider-Man's mask. You know how in the comics and in the new Spider-Man game and stuff, I think even in Homecoming, I think in the MCU, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, I think his mask does it too. But Spider-Man's mask, the eyes actually emote. They can squint and everything, and move around because the mask is kind of like electronic and everything. I think her little mask is going to be kind of similar to that. I don't know if we'll ever actually see under the mask, but we might. But yeah, like, she's also wearing some gloves, these long gloves. So there's a lot of interesting things to note about her design. But she's definitely going to be a big deal. Now, we also saw a little bit of Adam in this episode. We saw that he's still trying to remain in control of the White Fang, but that all of his subordinates, everyone else, has turned against him. Which is going to be interesting. Like, how's that going to work? I mentioned this earlier, too. How's that going to work? Is he going to be able to find some people who will still side with him? Will Salem's lot still side with him? He just straight up killed all of those others in, I guess, the headquarters of the White Fang. So, like, if he can't find anyone else to side with him, like, what's he gonna do? Now, we don't know Adam's backstory still. We don't know, like, why he hates humanity so much. I'm hoping that gets revealed soon. I would say in this volume would be good. Because this first episode kind of told us that he is going to have at least some focus here. So I'm hoping that they reveal his backstory and that we find out why he's like this. Now, I'm not saying that I want him to be redeemed. At this point, I don't think it's going to be possible. I think he's too far gone. But having a backstory and showing his reasoning for this can at least give him some depth that, honestly, I think is needed. He's a great character and a great villain. I love this kind of antagonist for a series, but he does definitely need more still. So I'm excited to find out what they do with him. We saw a little bit of Sun and Neptune at the beginning. Neptune we hadn't seen in since Volume 3, I believe. So it was good to see him again. And Sun was bidding Blake farewell. By the way, she gave him a kiss on the cheek. I did notice that. I don't think we're going to see much of them at all. I think that they will be back in the future, and I think that it was definitely telling us with, like, when Sun said, like, oh, you'll see us again. I think it was definitely trying to tell us as viewers that they will be back. But I think for now, we're still going to hold off. We're still not going to focus on them at the moment. They'll come back probably in a future volume, maybe next volume, but for this one, I don't think they're going to be back. I could be proven wrong, but I don't think they will. I also like how we got a send-off for Ilya. Ilya's going to stay behind and start to work Faunus relations, and I really like that for her. That is a good thing for them to do for her character. I like how Neptune was trying to flirt with her, and Blake's like, you're barking up the wrong tree. I like that, because she is canonically lesbian. Ilya is a lesbian. I think she still has. I don't think it's had. I think she still has feelings for Blake. So, yeah, she's not interested in you, Neptune. But it's good that they cover that again. I like seeing more LGBT characters in media. I mean, I'm doing a panel on it at Youmacon this week. LGBT characters are necessary to integrate into these shows because there's a lot of us in real life. We want representation. And I think we should get both good and bad characters who are LGBT. Because just having them all be good would be a lie. Not every person in the LGBT community is good. But having them all be bad would just be insulting. Because that would kind of further the stereotype that LGBT people are bad by nature, and that's wrong. So having a good mix of both would be realistic. And I like how Ilya represents both sides in this series. How she was a bad guy at first. She was an antagonist, but then she came around and got redeemed. In a very realistic fashion, too. I really like what they did with her character. I would love to see more. Also, I loved her outfit in this. Just saying. But yeah, so far this was a great way to start the volume. I definitely think next episode we'll start to get more info on who this mystery woman is. Or at least it's either going to tell us or she's going to keep it hidden on purpose and that's going to be like the big mystery for the season. She's going to be there, but she's not going to reveal her identity. She might use like some kind of false name, or if she does use her real name, she's not going to give all the information. That's what I'm thinking. That might be one of the big mysteries. Now, we did see Salem and her lot in the opening as well, so they're going to have a role to play. Don't know exactly how big or what the role is going to be, but yeah. I'm really hoping for great things. I'm going to continue to get these episodes as quickly as I can, up as quickly as I can following their release. Since I am doing Youmacon this Thursday through Sunday, and I won't be able to record any of those days, the next episode will probably be a week from today. Next Monday. Which is fine. I mean, I'm willing to do that. But yeah, I'm excited for more of this. And I hope you guys are too. I hope you enjoyed the reaction. Tell me your thoughts on this episode in the comments down below. What did you think of everything that happened? Did you like the character stuff in it? Such as with Blake and Yang, as well as with Weiss and RWBY. Also, one thing I forgot to mention before we finish off. Because I almost forgot to mention this. This is a big. A lot of people have complained about RWBY, saying she's one of the least developed members of Team RWBY. In fact, some people say she's one of the least developed members in the show, and I've never understood that. I've seen people like argue that as one of the big negatives about the recent seasons in the show in general, that the main character, RWBY, who the team is basically named after, she's underdeveloped, and that's not true. Seasons, honestly, I'd say the RWBY from volumes 1 through 3 would not have been able to do what RWBY did in this episode. I'd even say up to volume 4. RWBY was so diplomatic, so smart, so calm, and very much a leader here. Like, I remember in Volume 1, Weiss questioned RWBY's leadership. Weiss thought she should be the leader instead, because RWBY was immature, she didn't take things seriously, she didn't know how to lead, and she came across as very childish and immature. This is not the same RWBY. If you don't think she's developed and grown throughout these seasons, honestly, you're an idiot. Now, she hasn't had as much development as the others. I will agree to that. Blake, Yang, and Weiss have definitely had more. And theirs have been more focused on. RWBY, because development doesn't have to be like these big moments that change a character to a good degree. Development can be very subtle. Development can be these experiences that make a person take things more seriously, that make a person change how they view things and how they think about things, and how they work together with others. How they lead is a big part of development. RWBY, this is not the same character from Volume 1. And again, I'd go as far to say from Volumes 1 through 4. 1 through 3, definitely, but I'd say up to Volume 4 as well. This RWBY only really started appearing last season. And it's definitely shown that she's even grown from last season. She's still fun-loving. She's still a goofball, of course. But that doesn't mean that she hasn't grown. I mean, heck, her speech to Oscar last season, when they were alone, and she remembered about both Penny and Pyrrha, her speech to him and everything, that was one of the best moments last season, hands down. Because it showed how much she's grown. And other great things about that moment, but still. So yeah, I did just want to mention that. I almost forgot to mention that. That was a big deal for me here. RWBY is great. Not my favorite of the team. She's only my third favorite of Team RWBY. But she's still great. I still love her. Either way, so yeah, tell me your thoughts on this, on all of what I've said here, and even more if I forgot anything. If I did miss any big important information while I was talking or whatnot, please let me know. If you know anything that's to come, I know this just started, but if you have heard any spoilers or anything from any of that stuff that's been released by Rooster Teeth, please do not tell me. I wish to remain as spoiler-free as I can. I don't know what's coming. I don't pay attention to a lot of the stuff. A lot of the stuff that Rooster Teeth releases ahead of time, I don't pay attention to that. So please, if you know anything about what's coming, let me remain as spoiler-free as possible. And either way, thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.
And though you've come through many obstacles, shed tears along the way, you're still standing, live, love, laugh.